Hello and welcome back. My name's Sullosian and this is a new episode of Skywanderers. Sorry about the lack of videos recently. I've been very busy once again, and I would have loved to get some more work and just overall work done on the ship down here, but I just actually haven't had the time for it, and it's really disappointing. But basically I wanted to try and get something out there, just some content. Basically someone commented on a video recently and they're like, you should try creating AI or something or other and have a, similar to the engineering bay, how I've got the spinning sphere in the middle and how it has like the cathedral sort of entrance into it. And he sort of had some ideas about the overall security of the engineering room and how you could have turrets line up along the walls and defend the room. And overall, just his entire comment was a very cool idea, and I'd love to get onto building that eventually. But basically, the first thing it triggered in me was the idea of me actually wanting to finally give AI logic a go. Something that can control a ship to some extent by basically using a bunch of different logic and just programming it in such a way that you could activate a single command and then it could eventually get the ship ready to defend itself from an attack of some sort. So like, you have a grid, we'll say. We'll just build one up here, and you program a button to be on each one of these little things, and then each one of these grids can mean a different thing. So you can say forward, top, back, left, right, forward, left, etc. And then if there is an attack underway and there's enemy ships coming in from the forward left position, then you would just press this button here, and then it would aim all the guns to that forward left position, and then it would open fire with all those guns. So just sort of a bit of a brief idea of what that could be like. And then also it got me thinking about what you could use to defend such a priceless piece of logic machinery on your ship. So overall, when you get into a ship, you're going to want to either take it over or destroy it completely. But if you are taking it over, you're going to want to not be damaging things, and the best way to stop someone from taking over your ship would be to have a rewriting of sorts logic command cube, which is basically what I'm going to call this, but for the moment it looks like a disco ball. But basically the idea is you fill this thing up with logic and you program all the logic to be what you want, and you sort of just have everything set to whatever it may need to be, etc, etc. So imagine this entire cube covered in logic, and all the logic actually does something. Say it's actually controlling this defense weapon grid. So I press the button, all of the information goes into the command cube here, and then the cube sends information to all the guns and missiles and all of the systems that I want. And the only way to deactivate it would be to disable the cube, I guess. So just an idea of what you could use to defend it would be to have it sort of rewrite itself in a way. So in a few seconds it should activate. Basically, it will just do this continuously forever. So you only get a brief moment of looking at something. So say this entire thing is covered in logic. I'm going to need to be able to look at the logic and then reprogram it, and by the time I look at it, it's already moved, and then it comes back to me eventually, but by then it's already moved again. So the idea is that basically it rewrites itself in a way that it stops anyone from trying to mess and fiddle with all your logic and overall disarming one of your systems. So the only way to really take it out would be to destroy it. And I actually had this one down here as well, just so that way it would get even more spin and even more confusion happening with it. But in the end it sort of just looks like a bit of a disco down there, if you can see all the lights sort of shining off the black there. And I mean, overall I think it's really cool, just the overall concept of it. I would like to hear your tips and ideas and suggestions about it though, how you think this could be implemented, and overall would it be a good solution to stopping hackers from going into your ship and trying to mess around with the logic. But yeah, I'd love to hear your feedback on all that. But just one other thing I worked on briefly before I got really busy was this new little room, basically. I'm calling it Sullosian Kitchen Appliances. Basically, I was aiming for a bit of a, what's the best way to put this? Appliances available for your ship, which you can put in kitchens, bathrooms, and other areas with a hyper-realistic level of detail, so to say. Now, we'll just sort of go from one to another. So the sink, you press the button, water comes out for a moment, and then will turn off. And I'll actually go into all the workings just in a moment, but basically different buttons, different water. I think the sink is pretty basic. It's just a little bit of detail. So you just use a vent there for the basin, and then I'll show you how you do all the water pouring and all that if you like. Next up is a fridge. So this is a fridge with one of the water pouring things. I was actually going to make it so you could push a button and it would fill the cup up with water, but that's just a little bit too much detail for the fridge, I think. Overall though, the fridge, you press the button, a very dim blue light comes on in the back. You've got different things on the shelves, different foods, sushi if you will, and a freezer drawer with some ice cubes in it. Open and close that. So I think that's pretty cool. All of this is basically done with bricks and very sneaky logic, and I've tried to do as little clipping visibility as possible. But overall there is a lot of clipping involved in especially something like this coffee machine. So this is the first one I built and I'm most proud of it. Basically, you press for coffee and it will fill up the cup. Hopefully you saw that it actually raised the level slowly, and it actually filled the cup up with coffee, and then after a few seconds it disappears and then you have the option to get some more coffee. So the coffee machine's my favourite one. Just overall, press the button, starts pouring coffee, fills up, and then it levels off, and then you're done. Next up is the toaster, which is the last one. So you sort of just push down like you would in a normal toaster, and then a piece of white bread, very white bread, comes out, and then lowers in, and then after a few moments of cooking, the regular toaster pops back up. So we'll just do that again. Like that, goes down, cooking, and then toast, done. So I'm pretty happy with all of these little appliances, and I plan to make them all readily available for people. They can just put down one of these little things and then choose what they want, and then they can easily just spawn in a fridge or a sink or a coffee machine. The problem is miniaturization. Now this entire block here is actually for the coffee machine. This basically it's a weight. The sliders move at different speeds depending on how many blocks are on them. And when you're working with something like a coffee machine where it needs to pour it and actually raises the cup level very slowly, you can only make it noticeable if it's moving slow enough. And to make it slow enough, you have to add weight to it. That's what this entire thing is. Now, it could be too much, it could be not enough to make it what I want. But overall, this is basically the weight cube that I've had to use to make the coffee look like it's actually filling up the cup slowly. And I can't actually make it any slower as far as I can tell, because I think there's a limit to how many cubes you can have on a slider before it reaches the slowest speed possible. But eventually when Suna adds the ability to customize how fast sliders and rotors and all that sort of move, then I won't even need this giant weight thing, and then you can easily just have one of these coffee machines in your kitchen without the need of this giant block. But basically there's a little bit of logic involved. So this one here was for the coffee machine. You got all the different timing delays on the delay gates and the constant gates, so that way you can use mixed gates. Basically mixed gates allow for, it gets a signal, if I can just find an empty piece there, it gets the signal and it goes into the A, and then if it sends another signal then it goes into the B. And you could basically use that for a lot of these things and save on the doubling up of constant gates. But by using the constant gates, it basically resets the system for every use. Whereas mixed gates have the chance, I found, of accidentally screwing up every now and then. Whereas you'll press the button and then it won't reset the system to its defaults. It will leave, say, coffee already in the cup, and then it will try filling it up again or something. It's it's just easier, I found, to use constant gates to reset the cup to be empty, and then to use the spout that pours the coffee into it, and then have another one which resets the coffee cup level, all that. So there's a lot involved in it, but overall these will be available for download on the community Discord eventually, so that way anyone who's got the game can actually put them in the world and they can just sort of mess around with having a coffee machine. This one here was for this must be for the toaster. Jeez, I don't even remember having this much logic involved with it, but apparently there is. That's right, because you got the half of this will be for getting the piece of white bread that goes into the toaster and then it goes down, and then you've got the heating elements that go up into the actual toaster and all that. So there is a lot of logic involved in these things, which is kind of ridiculous considering how small scale they are. But so hopefully it gives you an idea of what sort of stuff's available with the game and how much fun you can just sort of have with overall messing around with a little project like this. So coffee, yeah, I just love the coffee machine. By far my favourite logic thing I've worked on. And toast is also pretty great, if it works. And there we are. I could recolor the white bread to not look like, you know, protein powder compacted, but I guess that's just sort of the space look I was going for, the protein powder, the white block of protein, and then it goes down and then it cooks it and then it sort of goes to golden brown. So yeah, hopefully you like those kitchen appliances. If you'd like to see more of those, let me know. I plan on making a microwave and an oven which cooks pizza in it. I reckon the oven with pizza in it could be pretty cool. So I will just have to see how that goes. I was briefly in the progress of redoing all these panels here, changing them from the modern hull to the basic hull. I'm just overall not so happy with the way that the basic hull looks, so I really did prefer the modern hull look, which was this one here. It's shiny and smooth and all just one giant connected texture. Whereas this one here, it does add the plating effect, which is cool for spaceships, don't get me wrong, but I prefer the modern hull look over the basic hull look in terms of mass quantities used. So we'll just have to see how all that goes. Also, just one last thing, I needed your opinion on the bridge of the ship. So basically, I didn't even realize it when I just built it up like this. I thought, oh yeah, that's a good size. I mean, nice big panoramic views of looking out into space and seeing the battles unfold from the bridge. Windows here, here and here. But now that I sort of started realizing, once I started building, it's really big. Like, this is easily 2 or 3 floors worth of space, and I've tried to make it all fit into one floor. So either I build things on a really big scale and have the windows really big as is, or I maybe try splitting it in half, where I have, or maybe even to thirds. So I have like a floor about yay high, and this doesn't have any windows along here, but this is like, think on these Star Destroyers, how Darth Vader walks along his platform and then he can look down into the little compartments below where all the officers are working on the consoles, and he just sort of walks up to his giant window. He can look out the window and he can see all the battles unfold whilst all of his worker bees work on the stations down below down here. So that could be something I could do, have all the computer stations for the ship down off the edge, have a bit of a Imperial Star Destroyer sort of feel, or maybe I could have a just a really big room overall with sort of consoles lining along the walls or something. I'm not really sure. It's a very difficult thing to get right because the bridge is one of the most important rooms and you really just want to get it right. And I want to get it right just like I got the engineering bay correct. I mean, I think the engineering bay is great as is. I really want to get the same sort of detail and perfection into the bridge. So any suggestions you got, I'd love to hear them. Basically it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blocks high. So technically you get 3 different floors. I could have a floor up here of more computers and logic, all that sort of stuff on the roof. Have the walkway and the windowing level, and then also have the officers' sort of control room level down below. if you get what I mean. Hopefully you do, and hopefully some of you have some suggestions that could help me out with the bridge detailing. I'm starting to get a little bit more time into my days now, so I can actually start working on the ship again. So fear not, there will be more content eventually, and hopefully not too far away. And one last time, just any suggestions on the overall Logic Defense Disco Ball system. I'd love to hear ideas and overall what you thought of it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.